All right, guys, it is about that time. Happy Saturday to you and also you. I am Stars Tina, and I'm so excited to have you all here today to week 2. Yes, it's week 2 of the Absolute Elite Mindset Coaching Program. If you're watching us in the replays, hello, we wish you were here right here in person. And the purpose of this program is to grow your mindset, to grow your money, to grow your relationships, nutrition, everything you can think about it. We had 8 amazing coaches last week. We had Carol come through. She is a high performance coach. If you missed her session, get back and watch that. We also had Angeline. Angeline, are you in the building so we can give you some birthday love? Is Angeline able? There she is. There she is. All right, guys, let's give her some birthday love. Woo, woo, some birthday love. Woo, woo. On mic.
Birthday.
Let's all
Happy
sing.
birthday.
Everybody on mic.
Happy birthday.
Happy
birthday.
Come on, Rick.
Happy
Come on,
birthday.
baby. On mic. Come on,
Happy
Carol.
birthday.
Here we go. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Angeline. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
I love you.
To you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Angeline, give us a wish. Make your wish.
I wish that you all will have an amazing time getting all the gold nuggets from Mindy and Debbie today. It's going to be an absolutely incredible next 2 hours. Can't wait to hear. I'll probably be popping in and out. My husband surprised
Can I
me.
just say, I just love how, I don't know what's wrong with my volume. Either I'm losing my hearing now. First, it was my sight. I think it's my hearing. Angeline says I need a new computer. I don't know. But Angeline, I love how for your birthday, you want to give back. You're like, I want blah, 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 blah. So thank you so much for that. And Angeline, I just want to say thank you for all that you do, because you're always pouring and giving to each other. So I'm hugging you, wishing you all sorts of birthday love. Your husband taking you out?
We just got back from a surprise birthday breakfast. He took me to First Watch. If y'all have never been there, it's a great breakfast joint. And I tried their coffee cocktail. Not a good idea. I should have got the vodka kale one, but I digress. I learned from my choices. So that's what happens, y'all. When you that will learn from. So that's my birthday tip for y'all. Enjoy the session.
Enjoy the session. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming through. All righty, guys. So as we get started here, I want everyone to start writing in the chat. All right, guys. It is about, did I say amazing, amazing event about to come through for you today. This woman is absolutely wonderful. Her name is Debbie. I was going to say Carol. Carol is always on my mind. I don't know why. Debbie is pretty amazing. I met her here. I met her on Clubhouse and a few other places. But I just want to get into this chat really quick. And I want to give her a beautiful intro right here. Where is she? I want her next to me. Boom. Are you guys writing in the chat? I don't see anyone writing in the chat. What's wrong with your fingers? Come on now. Can someone write in the chat for me? Put your name and where you're from. That's always a great thing. Yes, yes. What am I doing? I'm looking for her bio. That's what I'm doing, if you're wondering what I'm doing. Because I want to tell you all about this beautiful human right here. This is Debbie. That's not it right there. Sorry, guys, my phone like chopped on me. It chopped on me. Okay, Debbie's saying hello and welcome. Thank you for that there. Anyone else want to say hello and welcome to us? Yes, 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 no, maybe so.
Well, we have Chris from Chicago, and let's see who else. Carol's from California. Rick is from Philadelphia.
Yay, they're coming through. All righty, guys. So this is week 2. Week 2, we have Debbie and Mindy. And let me tell you a little bit about Debbie, okay? Because she is pretty phenomenal. She's born in Massachusetts, raised in New York, turned 50 in June of 2021, and she moved to Florida in 2007. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology, domestic engineer for over 20 years, 6 children, no way, She had 6 children ranging in ages from 15 to 31, and she suffered from anxiety in her early 20s. She went through severe postpartum depression after the birth of each of her children. Wow, that's a lot. You're good. You know what I love? We talk about people that go through trainings, but you have that life training. Oh, love it. 2022, launching her business to help people cope and overcome anxiety. Can we make some noise? Can we give it up for the beautiful, the one, the only,
Debbie! Well, thank you, everyone. Yeah, so I was born in Massachusetts, like she said, and I was raised in Yonkers, New York, which, if anybody's familiar with New York, that is right outside of Manhattan, and then there's the Bronx, and then there's Yonkers. So I was pretty close to the city. I enjoyed the city. A little bit about me, though, is yes, I've had anxiety since my early 20s. So it's been quite a few years, and I did go through postpartum depression, and it was terrible. But at the same time, the reward that I got, and then I had to go through the postpartum. But then at the end, coming out of it, it was definitely something that was an experience. And having anxiety and stuff, even getting on this is kind of difficult for me because I get very fearful when I have to speak in front of people. I have social anxiety. That's what my official diagnosis is. But there are ways that you can cope and manage it. And I've learned a lot of ways. And just for an example, my cat, that's my co-host running through, I tend to keep things around me when I speak so that I have that feeling of comfort. And I have my little owl. And the reason I keep my little owl near me is because he, when I look at him, reminds me that I have the wisdom and I have the strength to talk. So he's my little owl, and he sits and stares at me so that I know that I can get through anything. Plus I wear, like a bracelet that I can play with. That's just a little tip for when you have anxiety. You can wear jewelry that you can play around with and to spin, and it's just something that helps me. So what I'm here to talk to you today about is stress management. And the first thing that I want to tell you, and this is probably the only part of my talk today that I'm going to read, is because I want you to have a full understanding about what stress management is. So the actual definition of stress management is the process of identifying, evaluating, and taking steps to reduce or manage stress in one's life. Now, we all know on a daily basis that we have stress. It's just something that we always come across for one reason or another. And at this moment, actually, I'm going to ask you for participation during my time with you because I love to hear from people and I love to be able to help them. And the only way that I can help them is to know and identify some things that may be stressing them out, what may be causing their stress, and what they are actually experiencing when they have that stress. So what would you guys say, if anybody would like to unmic and say, what is one of the things that you notice when you're feeling stressed? What comes up for you? Is it something that is physical, where you may be achy? Do you have headaches? What comes up for you? Would anybody like to share?
I can share. Hi, this is Dale Elizabeth. What comes up for me is physically, I get an uneasy feeling in my stomach.
Yes.
And I get somewhat, not flustered, but hot, like somehow hot. I get hot. And then then it starts showing on my face, and and then when it starts showing on my face and others can see, and they're like, is everything okay? Then that's, I don't want it for them to get to see it to remind me that I need to reel it back. I want to catch it way before anybody else does. So that's what comes up for me. Thank you.
And thank you for sharing that. And yes, so as somebody that has anxiety, I've experienced what you just said. And I think that the anxiety for me gets worse when I feel like I have to hide it because I don't want people to know that I have it. So what I do is I actually have become very open with the people around me that I have it. This way here, they understand that I may be going through something, but they understand that I am going through something, and it eases my anxiety and my stress because then I feel like they understand. And even though they may not understand my true feelings, at least they understand that I am going through something. So I hope that helped you. And I just want to go into the chat really quick. And Carol said she gets headaches and experiences difficulty breathing and tightness in the chest. Yes, that is
Carol
another.
Taylor.
What?
Carol Taylor.
Carol Taylor. Yes, Carol Taylor.
Well, there's two
Yes.
Carols here.
Yeah. I can only see like 5 people right now. So excuse me, Carol Taylor. I absolutely adore you. Yes, headaches and experience difficulty breathing and tightness in the chest. Yes. Oh my goodness. Can I tell you about that? I have experienced that so many times. So what I try to do for that is I just sit and I try to take that deep breath. And let me tell you, that very first deep breath is the hardest one to take. But once you start to take those breaths and you breathe in and you breathe out, it eases it. And then your chest starts to open up and you start to feel light again. So would anybody else like to share what they may be experiencing with stress?
I wanted to ask you something.
Sure.
So I'm that person, I'm always going to say, I don't have stress. I don't get stressed. I don't get stressed. And my daughter said to me, Mom, you may, because, you know, I work with my mind a lot. And she's like, but you are stressed when, you know, so how would you know if you're stressed? Okay, gaining weight, that's one for me. I was going to ask you, you know, because for me, I don't really feel stressed, but I'm sure I may possibly be stressed. Am I not stressed? What are your thoughts on this? I would love to know.
So one of the things that might be a sign of that is not being able to focus. If you can't focus and you avoid certain things, your procrastination, that actually is a sign that you're stressed, because you are staying away from that because it's stressing you out. So even though you don't think you're having stress, it comes out in different ways. That's why with stress, it can manifest in all different kinds of ways. It doesn't have to be physical. It can be mentally and emotionally. There's all different kinds of ways that stress comes out. And you know, with stress and managing stress, like for me, I manage my stress to try to avoid to getting to the level of anxiety. And it's not an easy thing to do. So did that help you, Stars? Do you see yourself where you might be avoiding things? And
I was thinking about what you were saying. I was like, I don't avoid stuff, but I guess I do when I don't have everything I want with it. Like you said, it's like, because it would stress me. So that's what I think I do, is so I don't get stressed, I avoid it, the procrastination. So that's my mechanism to not get stressed.
And the important thing with stress management is being able to identify stuff like that so that you can work on it and realize, okay, well, this is stressing me out. And then you can go deeper into it and find out, why is it stressing me out? And actually, it's more so asking yourself the question, what about this is stressing me out? And then you can just go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I actually do that with conversational hypnotherapy, where I talk to people and the whole point of conversational hypnotherapy is you're not actually being hypnotized, but it allows me to ask questions that will go beyond what's in your conscious mind and get to your subconscious. So I hope that makes sense. Yes. Okay, so I saw something else in the chat. So let me just check this out. Your guard goes up. This is from Rick. Guard goes up and scared laugh out, little child. Rick, are you able to unmic and explain that a little bit more?
Well, yeah, sorry about that. I meant like a little child and stuff like that.
Okay, so you put your guard up, and that too is another way of avoiding stress, because you are putting that guard up, and you're putting up your guards to protect yourself from that stress, and people do that. And it's a hard place to get out of. It really is, but you know what? You can do it with just some coping ways of dealing with the stress. So now that we've identified some of the stresses that people have and what their experience is, what do you think are some of the things that you can do when you're feeling stressed to kind of get yourself out of that stressful moment? What kind of things do you think you can do?
Well, Debbie, I can share.
I would love that.
What really helps me is, like, if I start getting into, bad thinking, I'm like, I acknowledge it and I move past it and say, is this really benefiting me right now? and it's not. So I really, you know, you have to be intentional about it. You know, sometimes we're not intentional when we just fall into it and let it just kind of, you know, spiral down. But when you pay attention to it, then you can really catch yourself. And as you continue to do that, it becomes a great habit, and life just gets a little better. And then, you know, I think what Rick was saying, because I've experienced is that sometimes laughing is a way to, you know, reduce your stress too. Is like, you know, sometimes you just laugh it off. And so I can relate to what Rick was saying.
Yeah, the laughing part. And we do have Angeline, I don't know if she's here, but she does laughing yoga, and that is so beneficial when you're feeling that stress. And, you know, Carol, I love that you said you change your mindset, because that is a big part of stress, you know, reducing your stress. And when we don't have a good mindset and we're not positive, it can lead to stressful situations, and it can lead to us feeling stressed. So some of the things you can do for that: read motivational books. They can really help you. There's so many out them. I have a whole stack of books next to me that I'm reading. And it's like right now the book I'm reading is Designing Genius. And that just goes into the mindset, and you have to be positive. And I'll admit, there are days if I'm feeling really stressed out, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't even want to get out of my bed, because that's my way of coping. And I realized that it's really not a way to cope. So I've tried to do different things. No matter what, when I'm feeling stressed, if I feel like I'm going to stay in that bed all day long, I force myself to get out of bed. I force myself to get dressed. That can change your mood too. Getting dressed, maybe, you know, for the ladies, doing your hair, maybe for the men, it's shaving. I don't know. But when you get up and get dressed and you're feeling good about yourself, that can change your mood from feeling that you're just going to lay in the bed all day and do nothing, because that has been a coping mechanism for me. And it's not a good one. It's not a good one, because you stay there and you just dwell in your thoughts. And when you're dwelling in your thoughts, you can get stressed even more, rather than just facing what it is that's stressing you out. So what else can you do for releasing your stress? Anybody?
Breathing.
Breathing is a huge thing. And, you know, there's actually apps for breathing. You can go on YouTube. There's different ways and different methods there that you can do. Like Wim Hof is one. Then there's the box method, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. Doing different kinds of breathing can definitely be a helpful thing for you, because it just regulates your breathing and it calms your whole body down, because you are doing the breathing, you are calming yourself down and just feeling that release. It's a good way to release. So anybody else, what can you do to relieve stress? What do you do to relieve your stress?
Debbie, I think another way you can do is, well, what I've done is, like, if I'm really like into my SHIT, you know how we are into our shit. I'm like, I start reaching out to somebody else, you know, and encouraging them and empowering them, and get my eyes off myself and put it onto somebody else. And boy, does that ever like really work.
Well, yeah. And, you know, who you surround yourself with is so very important. If you're always with and I'm going to play a pun on my name, the Debbie Downers, you are just going to be down all the time. You have to be around the people that are going to lift you up, that are going to elevate you, that are going to support you, that are just going to be there to hold your hand, metaphorically, but be there and be a support. And when you're with the people that are bringing you down, guess what? You're just going to go down. You are going to be as successful and as happy as the people that you surround yourself with. So it's very important. And I know that I have a group of women, some of them are right here in this call and right here watching, that I know that if I need anything, I could just pick up my phone, hello, and call them, and I can be open and honest. And that's the important thing. You have to have the people around you that you trust so much, you're open and honest, and they understand and don't judge. That's important too, because nobody wants to talk to somebody that's you feel like you're being judged. It doesn't make it comfortable, and that can stress you out. And you don't want that. In that moment when you're feeling stressed, having the people you can lean on that are going to just talk with you and get you out of that stressful feeling is important. So would anybody else like to share?
Hey, Debbie, it's Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, I'd say movement, exercise, moving your body. And I'm going to guess this is why Tina is not stressed, because she is constantly working out.
Yes.
So that's why you're not feeling stressed, girl. Just keep doing what you're doing.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because like she was saying, Stars Tina here, she's big on the exercise. But what I really love is that she says exercise doesn't have to be that word, because when we hear that word exercise, it's a scary word. You think you have to go to a gym, you have to lift those weights, you have to. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to a gym. There's no way you're going to get me in a gym, because I feel like everybody's watching me. So I work out from home when I work out, and I haven't been the greatest at that either, because exercise does reduce stress. But you know what? Movement is as simple as go for a walk, put on your sneakers, put on your flip-flops, put whatever you're comfortable, go walk barefoot, just walk, because that is a way that you can have that movement that brings up all those endorphins, those happy juices. So you definitely want to get out there and exercise, and actually more movement. And it's as simple as a walk.
Or dancing. We could have a dance party.
Yes. And right before we started, Tina had on the music and I was dancing around. Yep. Put on your favorite music, dance around the house. Do you know that vacuuming is considered movement? And I'm just sending out the invitations now. If anybody would like to come to my house for their movement, you are more than welcome to come here. I will supply the vacuum. So anybody else, is there anyone else that would like to share what they do to relieve their stress?
I want to give a shout out to Chris too, because she offers classes on injury prevention. And for injury prevention, you can also do stretching. In the book by David Goggins, That Can't Hurt Me, he talks at the end of it about how important it is to do stretching and how your body can hold trauma and cause physical pain due to trauma, and how stretching can really relieve that, and how things like massages and chiropractic work, and then obviously like Chris does in her classes, stretching and movement like that can really help relieve that stress. And that stretching in my own life has been a real game changer. And then the classes that Chris offers, movements in your hips and your shoulders. And I know you're talking about walking and cardio type movement, but that stretching makes a really big difference. And it's something, like you said, you can do in the comfort of your own home. It makes a big difference. So shout out to Chris for promoting that. I really appreciate that. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Mindy had a snow day, so she got to join us. She's a teacher. But any of you interested in joining in on that, we do it through Elite Starts Fitness here with Tina, and just hit me up. I'll send you a link. I'm on, it's 6 a.m. Central Time on Wednesdays. So join us. We have a lot of fun. It's only a half hour and we just roll around on the floor for the most part.
It's amazing. Really, really good. Yes. And then for Tina too, she offers accountability, and that has been a big game changer too, because the exercise has been something I've been really working on for about 1.5 years. But sometimes it's tough to be honest with yourself in terms of exercise. I know that seems funny, honest with yourself, because why would you lie to yourself? Really? But in terms of exercise, and nutrition, sometimes we do that. Sometimes we aren't accountable to ourselves. And so having that accountability, to say, yeah. And then to hear other people is really encouraging. So I really give a shout out to Tina too, for having that, because I have done a really good job with, I thought, doing exercise and lost a lot of weight over the last 1.5 years. But meeting her and being a part of that and doing the exercise with her has really stepped up my game and continue to be a real game changer in terms of managing stress. And exercise really does, like Chris said, make a big difference in terms of handling stress, because it releases endorphins and dopamine and all that stuff. And what you were saying about getting outside makes a big difference too. The rhythm of walking helps regulate the way your brain thinks, and being outside. And if you can do it in the sunlight, if you have access to be outside when it's light outside. I know if you're in the wintertime, it's difficult, but if you can, it makes a big difference too. All of that can help you lead a more stress-free life. And I can see why Tina would say the stress doesn't affect her as much, because having a steady routine of exercise can really get all of that out of your body and make you feel not distressed as often. So yes, go exercise, go Tina, go Chris, all of us. Yes.
Yeah, and when I go for walks, I actually will go a different way each time, because each time I'm taking in different sights and I'm noticing things that I may not have noticed before. And I mean, I lived in this neighborhood since 2007, like Tina said earlier. And each time I go out for a walk, I notice something different that I hadn't seen the day before. So it's amazing when we walk, how we can focus on different things and where our mind is. It's just like when you're listening to, let's just say, a speech. And you can hear the same exact speech 50 times, 50. Each time you'll get something different, because it all goes to where our mindset is at that moment. It all goes to what is in our thoughts and what we are thinking about as to where our mindset is. So again, you can listen to the same speech 50 times, and each time you will get something different out of it. So another technique that I want to say is time management. And time management sounds like a really scary thing, because you get stressed thinking, oh my God, I got to manage my time. Well, it's not really a scary thing. What I do is I write down 5 things that I need to accomplish that day. And I put the things that are absolutely necessary first. And then I move on to the things that I need to get done, but if I have to, I can move them to the next day. So I find that time management is not as scary as it looks. You put down the things you need to get done that day. And if something happens, you write it on your list for the next day. I actually set alarms on my phone so that I'm not late to things. And if I have commitments, I have that alarm to go off to remind me, because you could get stressed out if you miss an event or you're late, and being late can make you stressed. So anything you can do as far as your time management goes, and as far as just scheduling out your time, that can absolutely help with the avoiding the stress that can come along with different activities that you need to get done. Another thing you can do for stress management is journaling. I know I have to get better at it, but when you get those thoughts out of your head and you write down what is going on, that releases the thoughts from your head and it clears your head. If you're not writing them down, it's all going to stay here, and it's just going to spin and spin and spin. And who wants to get into that cycle of just the spinning of these thoughts? I know I don't. So I write them down, it gets out of my head, and then I can go to sleep and sleep soundly. Let's talk about sleep.
Hey, Debbie, can I add into journaling?
Absolutely, Chris, go ahead. Thank you.
Because I don't know a lot of people that really say, yeah, I love journaling. I journal all the time. It works for me. I mean, most people are like, yeah, I need to journal more. What I have found, I don't journal daily, but when I have episodes in my life that are very traumatic, I write them down then. That's when I go in journaling mode, and it helps. And I did an interview actually with stars Tina and Renee, who are on here, and they asked me a bunch of questions in advance, and I pulled out a journal I had written when my son was really struggling with his epilepsy and had to have surgery and all this, and I read through it, and I remembered there were a lot of good things that people did for me in that journal that I would not have remembered because I was so out of my head. I was so stressed. So sometimes you'll find when you look back at that terrible time in that journal, there's some good that was in there. So I I encourage people, just journal when you feel like you really need to get something out of you. You know, don't make it a big mountain like you got to do it every day. So that's just my little tip. Thank you for letting me share.
And thank you, Kristen. Yes, you don't have to journal every day. So I just want to say that any tip that you're hearing here today, you can try it. It may not work for you. The important thing is you find what works for you. Everybody is different. Certain things will work for people, certain things won't. But the important thing is just trying. Try and find what works for you. It doesn't mean that if I'm telling you to do all these things or recommending that you have to start doing them all. No, that would be absolutely ridiculous. You have to just take the time, try the different things, and see what actually works for you. So another thing, anybody at this point want to share something that they may be doing that for a technique, or would you just like me to go on with some other, anybody? Okay. So meditation is another way you can reduce your stress. I personally like guided meditation because I find that I'm focusing then on the voice of the person speaking versus the thoughts in my head. So you can meditate, and just because meditation, you hear the word meditation, you don't have to sit there for 45 minutes. You can do a 5-minute meditation. There are apps out there. There are videos out there that are free. You just find one that works for you. You can find them for the time frame that you have. Find those meditations and do them, because they will get you out of your thoughts and reduce that stress, so you can go back then and go figure out how to deal with that stress. And nutrition. Let's talk about food. That is another way to reduce stress. And people don't realize that what you're putting in your body can actually help to cause the stress, because if you're eating crappy food, guess what? You're going to feel crappy. The sugar, the caffeine, you have to watch all those things that you're putting in your body, because the healthier you are when it comes to your nutrition, the healthier you're going to be when it comes to your overall physical well-being, your overall mental well-being. Drink a lot of water. I mean, drinking water is just something that we all should be doing. And I do a lot of drinking water. I shoot for 1 gallon a day. Sometimes I get it. There, Chris is drinking her water. Sometimes I get my gallon in and sometimes I don't. But the important thing is to make sure that you are drinking healthy things and not coffee. Is somebody on mic that they want to speak? Okay, well, maybe I'm just getting some feedback. Avoiding alcohol and drugs, that's another way that we can eliminate some of the stress in our life. Now, don't get me wrong, you like to go out and have a cocktail, that's great. But anything that you don't do in moderation can affect you in a negative way, especially when it comes to stress and anxiety. That is definitely something you want to avoid, is the alcohol and drugs. And it's just, people talk about weed, and I'm not going to say that one way or another that I support or I don't. It does work for some people. It doesn't work for others. So people will talk about, getting there's a lot of states now where it's legal, and I get it. And like I said, some people it work for, some people it doesn't. I'm not for or against it. I'm just do what's best for you. What activities do you like to do? Does anybody have any activities that they like to do? Maybe it's once in a while, or maybe it's on a weekly basis, or maybe it's on a daily basis. Anybody have any activities?
I do.
What's your activity?
I do it on a daily basis and I love it. When you were talking about meditation, I do self-meditation on my future. And it's so exciting because the brain likes images, to think in images. And by the time I get out of that, I do it for 21 minutes. Don't ask me why I do it for 21 minutes. I've just decided to do it for 21 minutes. It's a consistent habit every single day. But when I get up from that, I'm like so happy. because it really, it brings me really to what it is I'm going after and how exciting it is and how I know that it's already in possession, but I'm just, working through it. And it's crazy how it's like, yeah, you just get up and like, well, me, I'm kind of excitable anyway. It doesn't take me a lot to get excited, ladies and gentlemen. It just doesn't.
It does not. And I see that Carol Taylor put in the chat about gratitude every day. Oh my goodness. I could go on and on and on just on the topic of gratitude. Now, one thing, and I'm going to say this is where it changed for me. I used to always think about what I was thankful for, and I may have spoke about what I was thankful for. But there is so much power when you take your pen and you put it on a piece of paper. It is just amazing how different things can change. And the gratitude you thought you felt when you were just in your head or speaking it, when you put it on that paper, wow, that it is so powerful. I know for me, that's where a lot of things change. When I started to put it down on paper, I realized, wow, I have so much to be thankful for. And you can actually use that to reframe a negative situation that you may be going through that may stress you out. I'll use one for an example. It was last week now. I loaded my dishwasher full of the dishes, turned on the dishwasher. It didn't work. Now, in that moment, I could have been stressed out and thought, oh my God, this dishwasher's broken. What am I going to do? And been stressed. But I took a moment, which I'm going to talk about this part in a minute. I took that moment. I took a step back and I said, I am thankful I have these dishes to do, because there's people in this world that don't have dishes. There are people in this world that don't have that luxury of a fork or a spoon or a plate. So I took that moment and said, I'm thankful that I have dishes. And that changed everything for me in that moment, because instead of being upset and stressed that I couldn't use my dishwasher, I was thankful that I had the dishes for the dishwasher. And wow, what a powerful, powerful way that was. Now, I want to talk about pausing. You may come across a situation, or maybe somebody will say something to you that you're upset with. And our initial way is to just react to it. Well, I'm here to tell you, take a pause. Stop in that moment and take a pause. Because when you take that pause, you can become so clear in your thoughts. And instead of reacting, you can respond. And sometimes you may not even respond, and that's okay, because you're doing what's best for you, and you are thinking about yourself and being that it's not selfish. It's loving yourself. And that is an important thing to do, is love yourself. I can't tell you how many situations that I've been in lately where I get upset, but taking that pause, instead of reacting, I've responded. And when you respond with a clear mind and a clear head, your words will change. And if somebody said something that upset you and you respond back in a positive way, it changes the way that they're going to respond to you. And it can go from being a negative conversation and spinning it around into a productive conversation, which could lead to a positive conversation. So I say to you, when you're in that moment where you're upset, don't react, because it can make things so much worse. Take that pause, gain that clarity, and respond, because that changes everything. Another thing that I want to talk about that can reduce your stress is boundaries. When we set boundaries for ourselves, it can reduce the stress. Now, like Tina said, I've been a domestic engineer, which is just a fancy word for stay-home mom. I've been one for 20 years, and my kids were always used to just coming up to me and I'm going to do it for them on the spot, on the spot, on the spot. Well, now that I've stepped into this world of helping others with anxiety, and I have, you know, this business where I help women, and they had to learn to respect my time. And it's been a challenge. I'm not going to lie. It's been a challenge because they're used to, Mom, I need this. Mom, I need that. Can you take me here? Can you take me there? And it just doesn't work that way anymore. Does not work that way anymore. And it was a hard adjustment for them. But I think it was harder for myself because I felt guilty saying no. I felt guilty making them wait because for years it was not that way. But once I set those boundaries for myself and they had to respect my time, it actually eased my stress because I can do the things that I need to do in the times that I need to do them. And I can focus in on what it is that I need to do versus getting constantly interrupted and jump, mom, this, mom, that, mom, that. So boundaries are definitely something that are good, and having them for yourself is so very important. And we have, I know Pam that'll talk on that when it comes to her segment. Her whole entire presentation is going to be on boundaries. So you'll have to tune in for that to go dive deeper into the boundaries. So I want to go back to activities. And when I say activities, do you like to play board games? Do you like to go out and play pool? Do you like to go skating? Do you like to go, what else can we do? Roller skating, ice skating. What activities make you happy? Playing darts. Find an activity that you like to do. Maybe it's crafting. Maybe you're very creative and you want to be crafting. Find activities that you like to do and make the time to do them. Oh, Rick put coloring. Oh my goodness, coloring is such a huge stress reliever. Coloring. Yeah, Rick. Yes, coloring. Coloring, even if you don't have like a coloring book, there are coloring books for adults. You could just take a piece of paper and some crayons and start drawing, or to, you know, just draw things that make you happy. I know that Mindy's going to have us do a little drawing later. So that, you know, that's going to be fun. Yeah, but just find activities that you love. Make time for your family or your friends. You have those people in your life that are important to you. Make time for them. Schedule them in. If you're a person that likes to schedule there are people, they will schedule every minute of their day. I'm not that person. I have never been that person, and I will probably never be that person. But make time for the people in your life that are important to you, whether it's an hour, whether it's 2 hours, maybe it's a day, maybe it's a vacation. Maybe you can go on a vacation together, like a girls' weekend or a family vacation. But when you make time for the people in your life to spend time with them, that is a big stress reliever as well, because you are getting to have that downtime to gain that clarity again. And I see, I love to go out in nature, fishing and walking by the stream. Yes, being in nature. There's just something so peaceful about being in nature. Now, at my house, I actually have a pool that has a fountain. So when I'm feeling stressed, I go out and sit by the pool and just listen to the water flowing from the fountain. If you have a creek near you, go sit and listen to the creek. The creek is just, I mean, for me, water. It's about the water. There's just something so peaceful to me in listening to water flow, or just even looking at water. That is something that can bring peace and relaxation. Dale loves cooking new food, sitting in front of the lake, spending time with my husband, and listening to comedy. Yes, those are some great things that you can do to relieve your stress. And cooking new food. Who doesn't love food? Because I know I love food. I'm a foodie. And I will try anything, believe me when I tell you that. I may not like it, but at least I'll try it. But yeah, and again, see the lake. There's, for me, again, Dale, I agree. There's just something so much that I get from being around water. So it definitely is something to do. And listening to comedy, yes. Now I'm going to talk about listening to things. You know that when we're stressed, what you're putting into your mind and listening to can have a big effect on your mindset. So we have to be careful and pay attention to what we're watching on TV, what we're listening to, whether it be books or music. You can listen to classical or you can listen to trap. I'm going to tell you right now that the trap is going to get me all excited and might stress me out. But then I'll go to like 80s and 90s music, kind of dating myself a little bit, but I'm going to get the dance party on with those songs. And then you can listen to the classical music, which classical music, there's a lot of facts that I don't have in front of me, but there is a lot of facts on the benefits of listening to classical music and how it affects our brain. So that's definitely another thing you want to watch everything you're listening and putting in your brain, especially if you tend to be prone to stress and anxiety. You want to be careful about what you're listening to and who you're surrounding yourself with, because it definitely can affect stress. So at this moment, I would actually like to take any kinds of questions that everybody would have, or something you'd like to share. I'd like to leave the last 12 minutes for that. So is anybody here that would like to share or ask a question?
I have a question. I was just wondering, is jazz good to listen to?
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Jazz can be relaxing. It also can be uplifting. So yes, jazz is definitely something to listen to. Questions? Do I have any questions, comments, shares? You can put, if you're not able to unmic and come to on camera, you can also put the questions in the chat. Any comments in the chat?
Thank you, Debbie. It was so helpful, everything that you said. You did an amazing job. I just wanted to share that, and I'm so proud of you.
Debbie,
Well,
I have a question for you. Do you
Sure.
have any tips for children if you're a parent? And my mother says this a lot, and my niece is 6 years old, and she's like, she gets anxious, she gets stressed, and I'm like, she's 6 years old. How in the world can she get stressed? And she's like wanting to give, like she's having her do yoga. Do you have any tips for parents to give to their children if they're feeling anxiety or stressed or overwhelmed with their little lives?
Yeah, and you know, we live in a world today where I noticed kids in general get more stressed, and it has to do a lot, first of all, with social media and what they're watching on the TV. It also has to do with the other kids in the class that, you know, maybe your shoes aren't as pretty as my shoes. So they are under a lot of stress, and we don't realize the stress that they're under because of the social aspect of it. So the different things that she can do is, first of all, talk it out. That's a big thing, getting the child to open up. You know, like when she comes home from school, instead of saying, how was your day? What did you learn today? What was the biggest takeaway from the day? Getting them to open up and talk, you can actually get to the root of what is stressing them out. But I would recommend like a fidget spinner. There's the stress balls. There's just little toys that you can have. Maybe, you know, maybe a stuffed animal that she can cuddle with, so that when she's feeling stressed, that stuffed animal just gives her that comfort and helps to ease her. And you can work on breathing techniques with children. You can work on just diverted their attention. They have spinning rings. They can wear a spinning ring and play with the spinning ring when they're feeling anxious. So there's many different things that children can do, and to allow them to release that stress. Going back to coloring, that's a great thing too. The coloring for kids is also great. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, I know, Debbie, thinking about my grandson, he is such a routine type child. And when the routine changes, you can tell that he just gets anxious, and it can set him off. Like it can set him off for, well, if he's tired, it can set him off for a while. And so we have learned to try to keep the routine as normal, as, you know, about the same as much as we can, knowing that things are going to happen that, but we have, and what we do is we try to explain to him why it's different, but he's still young, so it's hard for him to even understand that. But yeah, definitely we have found that routine really has helped with anxiety.
Yes, having a routine definitely helps with stress and anxiety. And my one son was like that, whereas if we didn't follow the exact routine, it would set him off. So one thing you can do with any child that's used to a routine is, like you said, have a conversation with them, explain it to them. Communication in any situation is key. So if you know that, normally, okay, we get up at this time, we have breakfast, we go to school, after school, we come home, but say that day you have to go to the supermarket and you know that this is going to be an issue for the child, you say, okay, so today, we're going to do the school, go through the steps, and then after we're going to go to the supermarket. And I'm using that for an example, but the more you communicate with them and they understand, even at the youngest of ages, when you open up those lines of communication for anything, it really does change everything. And, Carol, I want to just thank you for saying that, because I'm going to be honest, I had a whole presentation written here down, whatever, but I felt it on my heart to just speak and do this presentation the way I did, because I was just called to hear from you guys. And I just don't like to just talk. So I felt it on my heart that I wanted to answer questions. I just wanted to kind of go with the flow. And I wanted to have you guys participate and really be a part of the conversation versus me just talking. So yeah, I'm just reading, turn on the volume. You thought you were going to. Hey,
Debbie,
I just learned something too. Yes, who's speaking?
it's Pam.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
So what do you feel, and you may have covered this because I came in late, but what do you feel is the best thing to do when you start to feel so anxious that you're having a panic attack?
Yeah, so the very first thing for me is to breathe, focus on my breathing. That has been the hugest thing for me, is to just focus on my breathing. But I sit and I focus on my breath. And sometimes it may require me to leave a room. If I'm out somewhere, it may require me to just go sit in my car. I've walked out of stores, left my cart and gone and sat in my car till I could get myself together. So it for me, it's definitely about the breathing, and just sitting and just getting into that calm space. And that the first breath is always the hardest, because you have that closed in feeling. But when you can get that first deep all the way down to your belly button breath, it changes everything. So I hope that helped. Does anybody else have any questions or comments that they'd like to share? Okay, so if anybody would like to speak further with me.
Hi, guys. I'm just popping in real quick. Thank you, Debbie. This is so much fun. I love this topic, and I love all your tips and shares and everything that you said about the kids too. Definitely, I find with my children, especially my youngest, he's the one with the most, I'm starting to notice he has more anxiety than my other kids, and apprehension, and worry about what others think, and scared to, like, that fearful of wanting to do stuff. So giving them this is what we're doing, so they know what to expect, just super powerful. So I love that tip that you gave of, okay, even if I'm like, it's bedtime, like even bedtime, he freaks out if I'm like, we have to go right now. So I tell him 5 more minutes, even if that, because he's 5, he hasn't caught on yet. I'm like, all right, 5 minutes are up, even though it's only been a minute past. Anyways, don't tell him my trick there, and I may need to change that, because that's a little. Anyways, I digress. My question was, I didn't mean to babble. Have you tried, and I know this is the modality I like to do, so have you tried, and do you support tapping or EFT, like the emotional freedom technique of tapping, and for anxiety and stuff?
I absolutely do. And it's something that I do practice, probably not as much as I should. But yes, it does work, and anybody can do that. And what I want to go back to what you said of setting expectations. When you set expectations with kids and they understand that, yes, it's bedtime in 5 minutes, even if I did the same thing, only 1 minute, but they had no concept of the time. But when you set those expectations, and another thing that I left off before is affirmations. It is so important. Let's sit with our kids and say to them, have them repeat after you. I am smart. I am beautiful. I am handsome. I am intelligent. I am creative. When you get them saying those affirmations, have them repeat as if they're younger. You can have them repeat after you, and then eventually they're going to start to say it on their own. And if they're a little bit older, I'm sorry, say that again.
I do this for my kids because I wish I would have started earlier, and they think it's so silly, and I call it mirror work, where I'm like, well, you need to go into the mirror, and I will stand in the mirror with you if you want, and you are going to first say I love you to yourself 3 times, because that's always missed so much, that they really have to love themselves. It was hard for me. I have to do it myself. I have to tell myself I love you, girl, like, even if I don't feel very lovable. So and then the affirmations are so cool. I love that.
Yeah, it's so important, and that can relieve stress for them too, because they have these beliefs in themselves. I think when they're young and impressionable, and they see, kids are, maybe they feel that they're not as smart and they can't answer the questions of the teacher. When you put that belief in them that they're smart and they're intelligent and they can do these things, they're going to become unstoppable, and they're going to have that confidence in themselves that may not have existed before. So what you're telling your kids and how you're having them react to different things, and teaching them to pause. There's so much power in that pause. But my time is almost up. So I just want to say, I will put the link in my chat, in my chat. This is everybody's chat. I will put the link in the chat. And if you'd like to speak to me, I am offering a free call, and it's just to talk and see how I can help you. So with that, I'm going to turn my mic off, and we're going to put the spotlight. I don't know if Tina is going to introduce Mindy, or if Mindy's coming up, but thank you, everyone. And it's been my pleasure to be here, and yeah, have a great day. And
thank you, Debbie. Woo!
Thank you, Debbie.
Debbie, a
Awesome
round
job.
of applause.
Yay.
Woo!
Thank you, Debbie.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Debbie, thank you. By the way, she has a book that she did not talk about. It's her badass story too, by the way. So y'all need to tap into that because it's amazing. Just saying. Okay. Bye.
Yes, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. So what I need everyone to do right now, we have 2 minutes until we get to our next speaker. I need us all to get off our cameras.
Gotta hit the club like you hit them mangoes. It's a short life. Gotta hit the club like you hit them mangoes. Jump, it's a short life. Jump, jump, jump. Gotta hit the mango. Roll that mango. Don't knock, alright. Don't knock, alright, right. Mango. Roll that mango. Don't knock, alright. Don't knock, alright, right. Don't knock,
I would do this dance party a little longer, but I got to use the bathroom. I've been holding it. I didn't know when she was going to stop. So I was like, okay, remove Debbie. Was it remove? Will not be true. And again, okay, I do not want to remove Debbie from the room. I just want to remove her spotlight. There we go.
By the way, I just want to say that it's funny that me and Mindy wore the same color. That was definitely not planned. So it's just, that's the way it was supposed to be.
Yay, it's awesome.
So are you having some fun? Can you put something in the chat, right? One word of how you're feeling from what you heard right now. I'm sure we learned at least one key nugget of information, but I just want you to put in the chat one word of how you're feeling emotionally in your body. I'm feeling kind of tense. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm hunched over. I don't know. But I'm feeling super excited about this next speaker. Her name is Mindy. I actually met her at a conference, and this talks about the importance of connecting and collaborating with other people. I just saw her whenever I go to an event and I see that person standing by themselves, because you'll see those people, they come alone and they're bold. I don't know how they do it. I don't think I have ever done anything alone. I love people. But I think I saw her standing there. And if I see someone standing, I'm just going to go up to them and talk. And she had a great personality. And we've just been connecting. She came here. We spent New Year's Eve together. We did our, vision board exercises. But she's amazing. And she's so loving. I love her grandchildren, even though, I don't have any, but we love them. Anyway, Mindy has been an art teacher in Ohio for over 20 years. So she's very experienced. I've seen some of her work. She does murals. She does all beautiful things. In the summer of 2012, she heard a street artist talk about her practice, and it sounded like what she had imagined for her own life. She was spellbound listening to her words, and it occurred to Mindy that although she was in an art classroom every day, she had burned her dream of practicing art herself and given up on the dream of ever being an artist. Has that ever happened to you? You had a dream, but you kind of stopped? Mindy listened to the street artist describe the criticism she overcame and her determination to speak through her art, and it brought Mindy to tears. Finally, she made a statement about having rhino tough skin, and it resonated with Mindy to the point that she began to focus on making art herself. Mindy was able to network with the street artists and display her work in galleries. Ooh, I know that had to feel good. Now, the anticipation of criticism from the public was both exhilarating and excruciating, and she was pleasantly surprised to have endured the experience Mindy has been creating ever since. That is beautiful. She had to find a way to share this redeeming process of building self-confidence with others. Love it. Through painting, she recognized her fear being exposed that kept her from completing her own work. As she continues with the creative habit, Mindy is becoming more and more vulnerable in the world and has found validation. The rhino image, I love this. I worked for a company and that was our mascot, the rhino. The rhino image reoccurs as a bridge between Mindy's inner sensitive self and the outer world that deems judgmental. She thinks about what it means to staying strong enough to withstand adverse situations each time she uses the rhino in her work. Each finished artwork strengthens Mindy's resolve to create more. She has channeled her sensitivity into various depictions of the rhino, I love it, as a way to escape from the fear of criticism and judgment that she finds overwhelming and terrifying. Finally, Mindy is currently coaching to share this idea of discipline and frequency with others as a way to build self-confidence for what she sees to call rhino esteem. Yes, the kind of self-esteem that is grounded and shows kindness, stability, authority, and ancient wisdom. Two things that I think that she's working on that she'll talk about more that I'm so excited about. One is a virtual event where it's like a paint and sip virtual. I love that. She's also working on a retreat where you're going away and you're painting, and I just love that. So can we all just unmic, make some noise, give it up for the one and only
Woo!
Woohoo!
Hey, Mindy. Go, Mindy, go.
Hi, everybody. Hi,
Hello.
everybody. Okay, I'm Mindy, and I'm a part of the Rhino Esteem. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you all today. And I first want to see if we need to stretch out, if the dance break was enough to get you all moving, roll your neck around a little bit and, roll your shoulders around a little bit. See if you got tired sitting for a little while. See if you're ready to sit for a little bit more. And then also I asked for there to be a reminder sent out to see if you had a piece of paper handy. So if you got that, that's good. And if not, then I wanted to ask if you could run and get one. And any piece of paper will do. And if you don't have a piece of paper, then an old envelope will do. from a junk mail or a napkin or anything like that. So if you want to get that and have that handy, that'll do. And anything that you have that has colors, like colored pencils or markers or highlighters, anything like that will work. And if not, then a pen will work, pencil, anything like that will work, because we're going to do a little bit of drawing today. So are we all set for that? Can I see some thumbs up if you got your pen and paper, or if anybody needs more time? We all set with pen and paper, all set with our shoulders and necks ready. And Debbie and I, the fact that we were paired together could not have been better. And the fact that we both wore our pinks together, that we're just like totally aligned, totally in sync. I really appreciate that. And I also want to really thank Tina for that great announcement, great introduction. So thank you, Tina. So today what we're going to do is we are going to take everything that Debbie said about stress reduction, and we're going to just put it into practice with an exercise. And we are going to think about what anxieties we have and try to separate them from ourselves and shift our mindset the way we think about this anxiety. Okay. Are you guys ready? Are you with me? Ready to do some creativity? Okay.
Yes, let's do this.
Let's do this. Sometimes when an artist comes to ask people to do something artistic, people can get a little nervous about that. So I just want to calm your fears, because this is not the kind of art that you're going to be sharing with other people that we're going to put up on display. This is just a creative practice that you're going to use to help you move forward in self-development. So relax. We're not going to put this on the refrigerator or put up on the wall or even put it up virtually. So I just want to calm that fear to begin with. So what we're going to do today is we are going to create a worry monster. Okay. A worry monster. So what I want you to think about first off is a time in your life where you may have felt some anxiety or worry, or a time that you might have felt scared or upset. And I want you to think about how it felt that way. And while you're thinking about that, I also want to let you know that lots of people feel that way. Obviously, Debbie talked about how we all feel stress, and lots of us shared how we cope with stress. So it's normal. We all feel that way. And there are celebrities that feel that way. You know, we all are familiar with Bruce Springsteen. He goes on stage, or has, I don't know, it kind of ages myself too. Before he goes on stage, one of the ways that he recognizes that he's ready to go on stage is that he gets shaky hands. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to go out there. And then I think I read one time that Beyonce puts herself into a different mindset before she goes on stage and calls herself Sasha Fierce, and goes on stage as that person rather than herself, so she can calm that anxiety, you know. So there's that feeling that washes over us all before we have to do something like that stage fright kind of a feeling. So I want you to try to think of a time where you might have felt like that, and try to think about how it made you feel, and try to hone in on, if you had to visualize it and separate it from yourself, what it might look like. Okay. Are you with me so far? Okay. So if you visualized it and you had to draw it and turn it into a monster, what would it look like? So now let's try to draw it. If you drew it, would it be big or would it be small? Would it have, would it look like a human feature? Would it look like an animal? Would it be furry, or would it be scaly, like a like a reptile, or would it have lots of legs, like maybe a spider or or an insect? Would it have eyes, maybe? So we're thinking about this worry monster, this anxiety. What does it feel like? So what would it look like? So I know you're all thinking about that. So then if you have color, what color would it be? And if you don't have color, then just imagine what color would be. And you can put however many legs you think it would have, or however many arms you think it would have. And you can give it a facial expression and make its mouth big or small. And give it a nose if you think it would have a nose, and ears if you think it would have ears. You can give it a hairstyle, give it a gender. Does it have a gender? Would it be wearing any kind of clothes? Would it be like formal, or would it be like recreational? Would it have any other features? Would it have like feathers or a tail or horns or any other features? Be creative. Think about this worry monster. Anxiety monster. It's a bully, this anxiety monster, because it's this anxiety sometimes appears and might stop us from doing something that we want to do, like a bully would. So whatever you draw on it might be something that you would think of like a bully. So you can draw on, something that you think a bully might have. So then as you're drawing it too, I want you to think about what name you might give it. Would it be a gender specific name? And then I'd like for us also to share a little bit now too about how and why we think this worry monster is there. And I also want to talk about the fight, flight, and freeze portion of our brain, the amygdala. That part of our brain that is in our survival mode. It's the part of our brain that is there on purpose, that we are all born with since cave times, that is protecting us. And why do we think that anxiety is there in the first place? Is there anybody who wants to share a little bit about why they think that shows up in the first place?
Oh, I can share. And I love that you mentioned the fight, flight, or freeze, because I know that when I have anxiety, I can go into any one of those: fight, flight, or freeze. And I couldn't explain it, so it was kind of hard for me to do, but like, would I freeze? And everybody thinks of just fight or flight, but they never think of the freeze. And when you have anxiety, you get into those moments where you do just freeze, and it's like time stops, and it can be debilitating, and you have to learn how to deal with that. And I love that you did this exercise, and I can share my picture if you'd like to see it.
Sure.
So wait, let me unblur my background for a minute. Oh, wait, that did not work. Oh yeah, okay, so see this? Can you see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I drew my worry monster because, I feel the whole scattered part. And then these are all my thoughts that are constantly going through my head. But I have the blue eyes and the pink mouth, because for me, I always want to see the positive side to things, and it doesn't really matter what the situation is. And I can be so in my thoughts and crazy but I always have to find that positive thing, because that's what gets me out of it. And, to be honest, I was actually having anxiety during giving my speech, but I've just become really in tune to my body, and I can figure out ways to get out of it. But there was a moment where I was in that freeze, and I said, oh my goodness, I'm here presenting and I need to not be in that freeze. So I had to kind of talk to myself and give myself a little pep talk, and that's what brought me out. But yeah, so that's my worry monster. And like I said, even in my darkest moments, I always looked for the light. And I knew sometimes it would take those little baby steps to get to that light, but I always wanted to go towards the light. And I hope that was helpful.
Oh my gosh, Debbie, I love all the things that you said. The way that you were talking about freezing, and the way that you talked yourself out of it, because that leads right into what we were going to do next. Because what I was going to ask you to do next was to redesign your monster. And you already naturally were starting to do that anyway, saying that this is the way anxiety presented itself at the beginning. And you already, since you have done so much with coaching, have separated yourself from the anxiety, and you are learning how to control the anxiety, and realizing that it is separate from yourself, and that you are able to recognize how to control it and put it in its place, and redesign it, and say that this is a flight, fight, or freeze response, and I don't have to be frozen, and talk to it and say, I don't have to be frozen, and I can move forward. And you have your focusing owl that you can look at and say, I have the wisdom of the owl. I can focus on that. And you also said at the very beginning that you had your bracelet, and if you want, you can fidget with that to help you get refocused, all of the things. And so all the things that you had, you're just like so on target. I really appreciated all those things. I was like, oh my gosh, Debbie, she's like putting into practice all the things I had said. It was so hard for me to stay quiet when you were talking, because I was like, she's doing all the things. It was great. Yeah. So that was a perfect share. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And the thing is, like with me, and I know that this is part of you too, is everything that I give and everything that I share, it's something that I've experienced myself, I've tried myself, and I've done. So it's important that, as we're educating people on any of our segments that we're giving, understanding that each one of us have done the things, we've tried the things, and there are things that they recommend for anxiety that I've tried, they don't work. So it's about, again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about just finding what works for you and then running with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Is there anybody else who wanted to share about that? That was our next step, is to take a look at our worry monster, and then recognize how we could be in control of it, and shift it, and redesign it. And maybe if we drew it with a frowny face, we could recognize that we could like turn the frown into a smile. And maybe we could, if we drew it with like a fiery color, maybe we could calm it and change it and be in control of cheering it up and making it happier, because we are the ones, we are in control of our body, and we can shift that. The way that Debbie described, if she went into a grocery store and felt like a panic attack was happening, how she could go and sit in the car for a little bit and do some breathing exercises and call a friend, or maybe she had a coach that she could call, or she had a mantra that she could repeat and say, I am. And so all those things. Okay. So let me stop and let somebody else have a chance to share if they wanted to.
Before they
share
move
their
on,
master.
one of the things before I get to the point, like with it being in the supermarket, one of the things that I've done is I call it the ABC game. And what I have to do is I have to find something in the store that starts with the letter A, and I go through the entire alphabet. And that's helped me to get through the stores, because by the time I get to Z, everything that I need is in my cart and I'm on my way out the door.
Right. Yeah. That focusing, refocus. Absolutely. Yeah. Is there anybody else who wanted to share their monster and how they might redesign it?
I definitely, hi, everyone, this is Dale again.
Hi, Dale.
My monster, I named it. I don't know if you guys see it. It didn't have the yellow before, as you were talking and you say convert it. I changed it because it's green, it's slimy. So I put the yellow to kind of pop it, make it pop, and make it more, because colors, bright colors. I love bright colors. And I'm like, oh, you're not so mean. So bright colors make me smile. They make me happy. I named my monster No. Right? No, just looking at me, and before I even think it, the answer is just no. And then as you were talking, you kind of saying reframe it, and I put, why not? Why not you? Right? So kind of staring back at it, and I'm waiting for a response here. Still waiting for a response. I don't have a response because there isn't a reason why not, right? I have all the reason to move, to speak up, to stand up for me, to all of it. So yeah, this is really good, Mindy. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm glad you shared, Dale. When you get frozen, for me, when I felt frozen, I didn't realize that it wasn't a part of who I was. I thought that was who I was. So I thought that was just what I was supposed to be doing. Right. When I felt that frozen feeling like Debbie was talking about, it was when my daughter graduated high school and moved out. And then I was the empty nest, and I didn't realize that that's what it was. I just thought, this is just how things are. And so, looking back on it now, I realize, oh my gosh, that was anxiety. And if I had known then what I know now, then I could have done what you're doing, what you're saying. And I could have said to myself, or to my anxiety monster that I had, recognized, hey, I call my anxiety monster Wobbly. Hey, Wobbly, stop. I'm not going to be frozen. I'm going to keep moving forward. I have the forward momentum. And then my mantra is all love, no against energy. So I'd be like, I'm just going to keep moving forward with all love, no against energy, and keep going in that forward trajectory. And so, but at that time, I remember I was telling my friends, like, I feel like my feet are just stuck in concrete. Like, I don't know how to keep going forward. And I didn't know that was anxiety at that time. Do you know what I mean? So I think, being able to have that self-awareness makes such a big difference. So if you can like, recognize how that feeling presents itself and then make a drawing of it, and then recognize how you can redesign it, name it, then when it appears again, you can call it out and say, I'm not going to let this happen anymore, if that makes any sense. Is there anybody else who would like to share maybe what they drew on their worry monster? There's a guy named Donald Miller who wrote a book called How to Tell a Story. And he says that, pardon me. He says that inevitably, excuse me, in our life, we will experience moments of trauma, and that how we respond is what makes a difference. That there are two kinds of responses. There are either the hero response or the villain response. And he is the kind of guy who makes movies, I think. And so the villain response is that the villain is going to go through and say, everyone else is going to feel this pain because I went through this pain. And so they're all going to go through all these painful responses. And that's how movies are. Like, you see the villain, like, my parents were terrible, and so I'm going to make sure everyone else goes through these terrible things. And that's what makes all the great movies, right? The Marvel movies and the Disney movies or whatever. I'm the villain, and I'm going to ruin everyone's lives because my life was terrible. That's the villain response, right? But the hero response is, I experienced a tragedy, and I'm going to go through my life making sure that no one else has to go through this tragedy ever again. That's like and so the difference is in the response, right? And so that's what we're trying to do with our worry monster. We're trying to be self-aware, figure out what what the anxiety is, how we can identify with it, call it out, respond to it, and move forward. What is our response going to be? That response is our power, right? That's what I'm trying to focus on. And I think that our ability to detach ourselves from it and move forward is going to make the difference. And I think that that's what helps us create our different reality, and helps us to do the kinds of things that Debbie was talking about, do the time management and the response to stress, and the create routines that help us to live the better lives and reduce the amount of headaches and create a better lives for ourselves. So I think that the hero response is that they have the attitude that the world is for me, that there's like this pronoia, and that villain response is like there's this paranoia that everyone's out to get me, and that I'm going to get them first before they get me. And so we want to make sure that we are not in that that villain type of response, that we have that we're not stuck with like this worry monster attitude, like I've got this chip on my shoulder. Because I know that you might have encountered people before that, you know, you ask them, hey, how's your day? And their response is always like in the negative, with a whole slew of things that are listing this and that and this and that and this and that are of things that are not going their way. And so there are even the hero response could be just totally reframing that question too. Like instead of asking that question, how's your day today? You could reframe it like, what made you happy today? Or what was good about your day yesterday? Or what did you enjoy? Or and some other way to reframe it, because you have that choice. You decide how you want to move forward with it. That's the goal of this exercise with the worry monster, is that you get to be aware of how the situation is, decide how you're going to respond, and then move forward with what you want heading into your life in the future. So that's why I was really glad to be going after what Carol and Angeline talked about last week, because the way Carol was talking about visualization, that's along the same lines. I think it follows really nicely, because it's doing the same type of work when you're kind of visualizing what this worry monster might look like and how it would look different if you rechanneled it into what you wanted and had more control of it for how you wanted to live your life. So now that you had a little bit more time, is there anybody who wanted to share maybe what their new worry monster might look like in the direction that they wanted it to go?
This is such a powerful exercise, Mindy. I just want to jump in. Super cool. Could you share, when you do this with kids, what they normally say as far as who their worry monster is and how to overcome it? Sometimes it's hard, like even for kids, and as adults, like, oh, I don't know what does that look like. So how do you coach them through that to see the other side of their worry monster that they see right now, but they don't see that growth, that new monster, that new change?
Right. Well, when I have done this with kids, the worry monsters there's such a range of how they look. Sometimes they look like giant balls of scribble, like a ball of yarn that got all messed up like by a cat, where like yarn is coming out from everywhere and there's like a face in the middle. Sometimes they look like what you might see on Monsters Inc., like a big hairy monster with like polka dots on it. Sometimes they look like a tiny little spider in the corner of a hidden in the corner. So they look all different. And then they really identify with what Debbie was talking about, the fight, flight, or freeze, and how it's there to protect you, and how we need it so that we are not making stupid decisions, especially when it comes to with friendships and moving forward in the kinds of things that they're presented with. And then what was the last question you had?
How do you coach them through changing what your next step was? Like, how do you see it, your worry monster, differently? How do you coach them through that if they don't know, if they can't see it? So I know that sometimes my child, he only sees the now. Even when I started the I am affirmations that Debbie talked about with my elder kid, because they're older, right? And they're like, Mom, this is dumb. They look at me like they're teenagers and they're like, really? I have to talk to myself in the mirror and say these things? Yes, you do. You have to do this. Adults have to do this. Do it every day. So it drips into your subconscious, right? So if
Mhm.
they don't see it, like my niece even tells me, I was like, well, just say I am beautiful. She's like, I don't believe I'm beautiful though. I'm lying to myself. It's not a lie. It's just trying to retrain how you're thinking because your current perspective is this real lie, right? so how do you coach them through that getting away from the block? Like I think us as adults, we get away from that, but it's the same thing as children, right? Like we
Mhm.
block ourselves from really seeing our true unique selves because we have this whole conditioning of the people around us, society, what we've seen on movies, what we've read and absorbed in music, and our subconscious is now believing these things that are really not true. But how do you coach them to see the other monster? I don't even want to call it a monster now because it's like a happy monster, right? I don't know.
Actually, Angeline, I think that the difference is that for you, I think it might be that they're doing it with their mom. And I know that sounds cliche, but I think when there's coaching one-on-one, changing the worry monster from the worry monster into this happy monster and saying you have the control over it is like, it's always been a magical thing. Every time it happens, it's like this revelation happens. It's just amazing. And then following it up with the I am statements is so powerful. Coming from a coach makes such a big difference than if it comes from a parent first off. And then having it be in a group setting also is a whole nother level of difference, because then the realization is so different because they realize not only are they being self-aware of this worry monster that exists, they are in their peripheral realizing that not only do I have a worry monster, but so does he and so does she. And I didn't even realize I had one, but I didn't know that you had one too. And he had one too. I thought I was the only one. And so there's some comfort in that. And then to have the I am statement with it makes it it's making me cry. It just makes it that much more powerful, because then they're like, oh, I really thought I was the only one. So they get it on like a whole nother level. So it's like, oh, if you can get it to do them with their friends, then they're like, oh, I understand now differently. So I think that's what makes a difference. Like if it's with their peers, they understand it differently. And I think even in this setting, I think that if it were just me and you, Angeline, talking about it, or if it were just me and Debbie, then we would understand that we're going through it together. It would just be like, oh, what a coincidence that we both have felt this anxiety together. But if all of us together are feeling this and we're like, oh, you understand this too? You felt this before? And you mean seeing the I am statements has made a difference in your life too? Like that connection is just so powerful. It just really makes a difference. So I think it might just be that block that's coming from the parent, because all the things that Debbie gave, the time management and reaching out and breathing and calling a friend, and like I had a whole slew of things to add at the end of this talk to counteract anxiety that Debbie like completely covered in her segment, because they all counter stress management and they all counter anxiety too. They all battle the same things, and so they all go together. And the being the thing that you want, writing out what your I am statements are. If the students write them themselves, or if your kids write them out for themselves, or if you actually write out what you want the I am and say that for yourself, that really makes the biggest difference too. I hope that helped, Angeline. Or if maybe if you could get your kids to bring their friends over and teach their friends how to do it and have their friends be like, oh, really? Or have your kids tell their friends how to draw a worry monster, then they'd be like, oh, I get it. Oh, that would make a difference. Does
I
that
love
help?
that to not peer pressure, but just like that whole, I love how you said they're connecting and realizing they're not in it alone, right? Because we
Right.
get in our head all
Right.
these things, right? That we just like, I know for me, even as an adult, not even as a child, but like you tell yourself these stories and I'm sure like, and without that, and then they're so fearful of like,
Mm-hmm.
what to say, so this is such a powerful exercise. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Mandy, I'd like to jump back in for a second. And, you talked about community. And I think it's important, especially for kids of all ages, that they feel like they have a safe space and a safe place. And you can create that within your home and make them understand that this is a safe space. Like I've always told my kids, you can talk to me about anything you
Right.
want. And I may not like what you're saying, but I will listen and I will hear what you are saying. And then I will give you my advice if you'd like it. Or if you're just looking to say what you need to say, I let them say it, because I think that it's when kids feel that they have a safe place to go to and a safe person to talk to, they need community just as much as we do as adults.
Mm-hmm.
And when they know that they're in that safe place free of judgment, it allows them to release some of that stress that's causing them anxiety and stuff. So, this exercise was great. And I just wanted to add that.
Oh, thank you. And I think it's important too. Like, I think the drawing can be so vulnerable. I think that's why I struggle with it so much as an artist, because it's part of yourself. You're putting yourself out there. And when people look at it, it's like they're judging you. And so to hold it up, it's like people are looking at you and they're saying stuff about it. So they're saying stuff about you. And so it's hard for people to want to draw in front of other people because they feel like it's too much of a revelation about themselves. And so to have them do it is really powerful, because it's like you can get so much further by overcoming that fear to get it done. So that's why I always push it too. Like, you can do it.
It is being vulnerable, because you feel like even drawing this worry monster, it's almost like like you're looking into my soul. And when that can be scary.
It is scary.
Thing to share with people. But again, like when I was talking about anxiety with my friends and making them understand, it does give a sense of peace and understanding. And it goes back to that it's almost freeing. It is freeing. It's not almost freeing. It is freeing. So yeah, but this was great, because a lot of times, and I've seen it on the TV. When they're asking kids to explain how they're feeling, they'll have them draw it, because kids are more likely to draw their feelings, especially when they're younger. They're more likely to draw than they are to talk.
Oh, yeah.
But this was great, because you get, like, even with a kid, you can give them this specific exercise and have them draw that one thing and what they're feeling. So this was really powerful.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. When after they draw too, then they are more willing to share. And after people draw too, people are usually more willing to share.
Well, yeah, because they got it out of their system, kind of like journaling, when the thoughts are in your head and you're writing it down, but here you've drawn it, you've made a visual of it. So you are going to be more willing to talk to it, because you were comfortable enough to put that on the paper. So it kind of opens up that comfort level a little bit to actually go out and share it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you get to make the decisions. You get a chance to think about it. You get a chance to decide make those decisions, have a chance to reflect. And that reflection part is just so important. It really is. Mhm. Anybody else want to chime in or share drawing?
I wanted to jump in and say these things, if not unless you deal with you, we have to really go in and dig deep and let all of those emotions and those feelings come out. If you don't, then you're bottling it up, and then it affects the relationships that you have with yourself, the relationships you have with the people around you, and it's just trickle down. And then, of course, if you let it really go on for years and years and years, and you don't even realize it, and you have kids, and then they start to pick it up, and then husband, wife, it seems like it's small, but it just snowballs into so much more if you're not careful. So yes, dealing with you and getting you personally, professionally developed in all the different ways is vital. So yeah, definitely. Again, Wendy.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Dale. And I think that's why when Tina was asking Debbie earlier about how sometimes she doesn't feel like she's stressed out, I think that also has to do with how you use your words too. I think I'm really careful when people ask me, how do you feel, not to say how I want to feel sometimes, not how I actually feel, because I don't want to manifest something that I don't want for myself, and also not to say it in an I am statement either. Like, even if I'm tired, I might say I'm working on getting more energy or something like that. You won't ever catch me saying I am tired, right? Because I am not tired ever. because I'm not going to manifest that about myself, right? So, and you won't ever catch me saying I am stressed out either, because I am not stressed out, right? Because I'm not going to manifest that about myself either. So I think that has to do with your separating yourself from the emotion that you're feeling about yourself. And that is what this exercise was about too, that you might have anxiety, you might have this worry, you might have this feeling that you have, and it is separate from yourself. And so you can be self-aware of it. And if it comes across you, you can recognize it and then decide what you want to be and move in that direction, and let that thing go, and let that thing go over there and go this way instead. You know what I mean? Because there's a whole bunch of people who come into my life all the time, and I ask them how they're doing, and every day they're like, I'm so tired. And I'm like, you got to stop saying that. Yeah. You got to stop saying that, because you come in here tired every day.
I have my team, they got this, two of my team members, they put on their office door, busy or not busy. I said, you're always not busy. You speak what you seek until you seek what you seek. Don't do it to yourself. I'm telling you, because you're putting it out there, whether verbally and your energy, you're going to keep on getting more of it. You're not busy. You have all the time in the world to do everything that you want.
Yeah, once I ended up drawing my worry monster, I recognized that sometimes the way I hold stress too is in my neck and in my shoulders. And sometimes it sets in after lunch. So there'd be times where I'd be walking around like this after lunch, and once I recognized it, because then that's when like headaches would start to set in. So once I started to be aware of it, I'd be like just breathe it out. Be like, okay, let me set my shoulders back down. Let me like figure this back out, move forward with the rest of the day. Separate my, like, I am not stressed out. I'm cool. What was it that got me to feel this way? Oh, it was that situation. Well, that situation has passed. Let me go forward. Okay, now my shoulders are back down. Get the tension out of my neck and do the roll, neck roll, whatever it needs to do, stretch it out. Okay, now we're ready for the rest of the afternoon. That's all passed, because you separate yourself from whatever that anxiety or whatever that emotion was. Now you can have that forward momentum for the rest of the day.
And that what you just said, it's the reset, right?
It's
It
a
resets
reset.
the body. It disrupts whatever it is that's going on, and you do this.
Right.
So yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Mhm. Was there anybody else who had anything to share? One last worry monster they wanted to show?
I just wanted to jump back to what Dale was saying about, recognizing what you're going through and sitting in the emotions, because if you push them all down, I equate that to the old-fashioned tea kettle. And when you
Oh,
keep
yeah.
on pushing the feelings down, it's like turning on that tea kettle, and as it gets hotter and hotter and it starts to boil and boil and boil, you reach the point that you start that whistle blowing, and the whistle starts blowing. And by then it's your emotions are so out of control. So when you can get that, when the teapot is first turned on and you just sit in those emotions, and it's okay to go through the emotions. It's okay when you're going through anxiety. It's okay to feel that, because you know what? When you feel it, the next time it's easier to deal with, and the anxiety lasts less and a little bit less and a little bit less. So it's important that we sit in those emotions and feel those emotions and work through those emotions when we're having them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Absolutely.
Mindy, before we get out of here, you want to leave your contact information and what you have coming up soon? I know you have your paint sippy thingy or something. Want to give your contact info for us?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so coming up, I have 2 opportunities. One, I'm going to have a creative academy, and this is going to be an opportunity for any of you to join me so that you can uncover whatever it is you want to do. For me, it is painting a mural in another country. That's what I really want to do. I've always wanted to do it. And when I went to Costa Rica for the very first time, somehow the person at the Airbnb found out that I was a painter, and I got to paint a sloth and a toucan on the side of the Airbnb. Go figure. And so I'm going to do it again in another country, wherever it is. Maybe it'll be this summer in Costa Rica. Maybe it'll be somewhere else in another country, but I'm going to do it somewhere else. So I'm going to also do that. That's going to be a separate thing. So if you're interested in that, contact me. So I'm going to get a group of women together, and we're going to go to another country and paint a mural somewhere. So if you're interested in that, let me know. We're going to do that. And then the second one is that I'd like to get people together and help you uncover what your dream is, and do some coaching along that lines, and called the Creative Academy. And that event is going to launch on March 18th. And so on my website, I'm going to put information. I'm on that soon. So my website is rhinoesteem.pro. And so I'll put that in the chat right after I get done talking, so I can talk and type at the same time. So I'll put that there. And so you can reach me there on that rhinoesteem.pro. There's my Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all that stuff. So that's a one-stop shop. You can get everything there. Oh, thank you, Debbie. You got it for me. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yay.
We all on mic and make some noise for Mindy.
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. It was awesome. I loved it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. Yours was amazing too. We were like perfect in line. It was perfect.
Yes. Next week, it's all about money, 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 money. So I'm coming through with Renee. Renee is going to be talking about credit and budgeting and anything to do with money. And I'm going to be talking about making more of it to get from good to great to amazing. So let's take this photo right now. Photo in a 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1 second. I got to wait for Carol Angeline. Here we go. Photo in 3. Oh, here comes Rick Derula. Pam. Pam, you coming through? Photo in 3, 2. Thank you guys for a great Saturday. Make sure you invite a friend next week because I'm putting an offer through, so it will be free. So take this link, share it out to your friends, to your family. We'll be here next Saturday, 10 a.m. to party, to rock, to roll. Peace and a bottle of hair grease.